2025, archaeology uncovered something so small that it almost went unnoticed, yet so powerful that it changed the story of humanity forever. Deep inside an ancient site, preserved in hardened clay, scientists found a single fingerprint. It did not belong to a modern human. It belonged to a Neanderthal. For decades, Neanderthals were misunderstood. They were described as primitive, unintelligent, and incapable of creativity. History portrayed them as shadows standing behind modern humans. But this fingerprint told a different story. The print was clear, deliberate, and carefully pressed into soft clay more than 40,000 years ago. This was not an accident. The pressure was controlled. The placement was intentional. Advanced imaging revealed the fingerprint belonged to a young individual, possibly a teenager. Someone learning. Someone experimenting. Someone thinking. The clay itself showed signs of shaping, suggesting it was being handled for more than survival. It hinted at symbolism, at expression, at creativity. This discovery shattered one of the oldest myths in human history. Neanderthals were not mindless beings. They understood touch. They understood material. They understood intention. This single fingerprint became one of the most emotional archaeological discoveries of the year, because it connected us directly to an individual who lived tens of thousands of years ago. Not a skeleton, not a skull, but a moment where a living being pressed their finger into the world and unknowingly left proof that they existed, not as a monster, not as a failure of evolution, but as a thinking, feeling human relative. For the first time, archaeology did not just show us how Neanderthals lived, it showed us how they thought. And if one fingerprint can change how we see our origins, then what happens when we uncover the resting place of a king who ruled an entire civilization? Hidden beneath the dense jungles of Central America, an ancient city waited patiently for its story to be completed. For centuries, the Maya civilization amazed the world with its temples, calendars, and astronomical knowledge. But one question remained unanswered. Who was the ruler that started it all? In 2025, at the heart of the ancient Maya city of Caracol in modern-day Belize, archaeologists uncovered the tomb of the city's first known king. The tomb had remained sealed for more than 1,600 years. When it was finally opened, history stepped forward. Inside were jade ornaments symbolizing divine authority, ceremonial vessels painted with sacred imagery, and ritual objects placed with exact precision. Every item followed strict spiritual rules. This was not just a burial. It was a transformation. Maya kings were believed to be intermediaries between gods and humans. Death was not the end of their power. It was the beginning of something greater. The body's position, the alignment of the tomb, and the object inside all reflected the Maya understanding of the cosmos. Politics, religion, and astronomy were inseparable. This discovery changed everything historians believed about Caracol. It proved the city was powerful much earlier than previously thought. It revealed that Maya kingship was already advanced, ritualized, and deeply symbolic from its very beginning. The jungle that once swallowed the city did not destroy it. It protected it. Roots grew above stone. Silence covered history. And time waited. This tomb reminded the world that great civilizations do not disappear. They fall quiet. And when archaeology listens carefully enough, they speak again. But while the jungles of Central America preserved the tomb of a king, the deserts of Egypt were guarding secrets even older. Secrets buried beneath sand, stone, and belief. And that journey takes us next to Saqqara, where the age of pyramids still whispers its truths. In 2025, beneath the burning sands of Egypt, archaeologists uncovered a secret that had been sealed since the age of the pyramids. At Saqqara, one of the oldest and most sacred burial grounds in human history, a discovery emerged that transported the world back more than 4,000 years. This was not the tomb of an ordinary man. This was the resting place of an elite royal figure from Egypt's Old Kingdom, a time when pharaohs were believed to be living gods and monuments were built to last forever. As researchers carefully removed layers of sand and stone, they revealed a massive pink granite false door, the largest of its kind ever discovered. In ancient Egypt, a false door was not symbolic decoration. It was believed to be a gateway, a doorway through which the soul could pass between the world of the living and the world of the dead. The size and craftsmanship of this door sent a clear message. Whoever was buried here held extraordinary power. Inside the tomb, inscriptions identified the owner as a royal prince, a man closely connected to the pharaoh himself. The walls were covered in finely carved reliefs, showing scenes of offerings, servants, rituals, and symbols of eternal life. Every detail followed precise religious rules, designed to ensure that the soul would survive forever in the afterlife. But what truly stunned archaeologists was the level of preservation. Despite thousands of years underground, the tomb remained remarkably intact. Statues still stood in their original positions, watching silently as if guarding their master. Traces of paint revealed colors once vibrant enough to glow by torchlight. This discovery confirmed something historians had long suspected but never fully proven: that Egypt's Old Kingdom elite lived in a world of extreme organization, deep spirituality, and unmatched architectural skill. This was not a primitive society. It was a civilization operating with precision, belief, and long-term vision. Even more importantly, the tomb revealed how deeply Egyptians believed in life after death. Every object inside, from ceremonial tools to inscriptions, was placed with purpose. Nothing was random. Nothing was accidental. Death, to the ancient Egyptians, was not an end. It was continuation. And Saqqara, once again, proved why it remains one of the most important archaeological sites on Earth. Because beneath its sands, Egypt does not sleep. It waits. And when it finally speaks, it reminds us that some civilizations were already eternal long before history began recording their names. And yet, while Egypt buried its kings beneath the desert, another ancient city was building walls above ground. Not for eternity, but for survival. In the next chapter, we travel to Jerusalem, where stone defenses from over 2,000 years ago reveal a city shaped by conflict, faith, and power. In 2025, in one of the most contested cities on Earth, archaeology uncovered a structure that had witnessed centuries of conflict, faith, and survival. Beneath the modern streets of Jerusalem, archaeologists revealed a massive ancient stone wall, a defensive structure built more than 2,000 years ago. This wall was not hidden in legend. It was hidden beneath history itself. As excavations continued, researchers realized they were standing before one of the best-preserved sections of Jerusalem's ancient fortifications, dating back to the Hasmonean period. At a time when empires rose and fell by the sword, walls like these determined whether a city lived or died. The stones were enormous, some weighing several tons, carefully cut and stacked with precision that rivaled later Roman engineering. This was not rushed construction. This was survival planned in stone. Jerusalem has always been more than a city. It has been a symbol, a sacred center for multiple religions, and a strategic prize for empires. This wall revealed how ancient rulers understood that reality. They did not rely only on faith. They relied on strength. The newly uncovered section showed clear evidence of battle damage, marks from ancient weapons, repaired segments where earlier attacks had weakened the structure. These were not decorative walls. They were used. They were tested. They were attacked. And they held. For archaeologists, this discovery provided rare physical proof of Jerusalem's turbulent past, a city constantly under threat, yet continuously rebuilt. It confirmed historical accounts describing sieges, invasions, and resistance that shaped the identity of the city. More importantly, the wall revealed how different civilizations reused and expanded earlier defenses. Each generation added its own layer, turning the city into a living record of human conflict and cooperation. The stones themselves told a story. Some carried markings from quarry workers. Others showed signs of later modifications, proving that the wall evolved as threats evolved. This discovery reminded the world that Jerusalem's history is not frozen in scripture or texts. It is written in stone, and those stones still stand. Even today, as modern life moves above ground, the ancient city continues to exist below, intact, silent, and waiting to remind us that the struggles of the present echo the struggles of the past. Because long before modern borders, politics, and nations, people here were already fighting to protect what they believed was sacred. And as archaeologists carefully preserved this wall, they preserved more than architecture. They preserved memory. But while Jerusalem built walls to defend itself, ancient Europe prepared for war in a very different way. not with cities of stone, but with armor of bronze, buried with warriors who never expected to be found. And in the next chapter, we travel across Europe, where untouched tombs and ancient battle gear reveal how early civilizations prepared for conflict and for death. In 2025, across the quiet landscapes of Europe, archaeologists uncovered discoveries that revealed how ancient people prepared for war, honor, and death. Hidden beneath fields, forests, and construction sites, untouched tombs began to emerge, sealed for more than 3,000 years. Inside them were not kings, not emperors, but warriors. What stunned researchers was the condition of what they found. Bronze Age armor, preserved so perfectly that it still carried the shape of the human body it once protected. Helmets formed to fit the skull. Chest plates designed to deflect blows. Shields crafted not only for defense, but for intimidation. These were not ceremonial objects. They were built for battle. For decades, historians believe Bronze Age warriors relied mostly on simple weapons and minimal protection. But these discoveries shatter that belief. The armor showed advanced metalworking skills, deep knowledge of human anatomy, and an understanding of warfare far more sophisticated than previously imagined. Some pieces showed dents, cracks, and repairs, clear evidence that they had been used in real combat. These warriors had fought, and some had survived long enough to repair their gear and fight again. The tombs themselves told an even deeper story. Weapons were placed carefully beside the bodies. Personal items were included, symbols of identity, loyalty, and status. This showed that these warriors were respected in life and honored in death. They were not disposable soldiers. They were valued members of their societies. Archaeologists also discovered that some armor was deliberately bent or damaged before burial. This was not an accident. It was ritual. Many ancient European cultures believed weapons and armor carried a spirit. By damaging them, they symbolically killed the object, allowing it to follow its owner into the afterlife. This revealed a belief system where war, spirituality, and identity were deeply connected. These people did not separate violence from meaning. For them, battle was not just survival, it was destiny. The discoveries also showed how interconnected ancient Europe truly was. The metal used in the armor came from distant regions. Design patterns appeared across different cultures. This meant ideas, materials, and technologies traveled far earlier than once believed. Europe was not isolated tribes. It was a network, a world already connected by trade, conflict, and shared knowledge. As archaeologists carefully lifted these ancient armors from the soil, they did more than recover objects. They restored dignity to people long forgotten. Warriors who once stood ready on ancient battlefields now stood again in the light of history. But while these warriors were buried beneath the land, another ancient power was swallowed by the sea, a queen whose name still echoes through time. And in the next chapter, we descend beneath the waters of Alexandria, where the remains of Cleopatra's royal pleasure boat reveal a world of luxury, ritual, and political power hidden beneath the waves. In 2025, beneath the calm blue waters of the Mediterranean Sea, archaeology uncovered a world of power, beauty, and illusion long believed to be lost forever. Off the coast of Alexandria, near the ruins of Cleopatra's royal palace, marine archaeologists discovered the remains of an ancient luxury vessel, a royal pleasure boat unlike anything ever found before. This was not a warship. This was not a merchant vessel. This was a floating symbol of power. Historians believe the ship was a thalamigos, a lavish ceremonial barge used by Cleopatra VII, the last queen of ancient Egypt. A queen remembered not only for her beauty, but for her intelligence, political genius, and control over the most powerful men in the Roman world. As divers explored the seabed, they uncovered massive wooden beams, decorative fittings, and architectural elements that revealed something extraordinary. This ship was designed to look like a palace. Columns, carved details, spaces meant for ceremonies, banquets, and ritual performances. Cleopatra did not simply rule from a throne. She ruled from spectacle. The boat was likely used during religious festivals honoring the goddess Isis, with whom Cleopatra closely associated herself. By appearing on this vessel, dressed as a living goddess, she sent a clear message to her people and her enemies. She was not just a queen. She was divine, The discovery revealed how politics in the ancient world was not only fought with armies, but with imagery, symbolism, and controlled perception. Every detail of the vessel served a purpose: to impress, to intimidate, to seduce. This floating palace moved through the waters of Alexandria as a performance of power. But history was not kind to Cleopatra. After her defeat and death, earthquakes and rising seas swallowed parts of ancient Alexandria. Palaces collapsed, harbors sank, and Cleopatra's world disappeared beneath the waves. For more than 2,000 years, her story survived only in texts, legends, and Roman propaganda. Until now, this discovery brought physical proof of Cleopatra's world back to the surface. It showed that the stories of her luxury were not exaggerations. They were reality. It also reminded us that Cleopatra was not simply a tragic figure. She was a master of image culture and influence, and her ship was one of her greatest weapons. As archaeologists carefully documented the remains, they were not just recovering a vessel. They were recovering a moment in history when Egypt stood at the center of the ancient world, a moment before empire crushed kingdom, a moment before myth replaced truth. But while Cleopatra displayed her power upon the sea, far from the waves, hidden deep in a desert monastery, another treasure waited patiently in silence: gold, faith, and survival. And in the next chapter, we journey into the Judean desert, where a Byzantine gold treasure reveals how ancient believers protected their wealth during times of fear and collapse. In 2025, deep within the harsh silence of the Judean desert, archaeologists uncovered a treasure that had survived time, war, and collapse. Hidden among the ruins of an ancient Christian monastery, a collection of gold objects emerged from the earth, untouched for more than 1,400 years. This was not a random hoard. It was a deliberate act of preservation. The treasure included gold coins, a finely crafted ring, and valuable objects carefully wrapped and concealed. Each item told the same story: fear, protection, hope. During the Byzantine period, monasteries were not just religious centers. They were places of learning, refuge, and wealth. As invasions, political instability, and religious conflicts swept across the region, monks faced an impossible choice: abandon their sacred home or protect what they believed had eternal value. They chose to hide it. The location of the treasure revealed careful planning. It was buried in a place only insiders would know. This suggested the monks intended to return. But history had other plans. They never did. What makes this discovery so powerful is not its monetary value. It is the human story behind it. The coins showed little wear, meaning they were hidden shortly after being acquired. The ring, small and personal, may have belonged to a senior religious figure, perhaps an abbot, perhaps someone who believed this gold could one day rebuild what was lost. The discovery also revealed how interconnected the Byzantine world was. The coins came from different mints, proving trade networks stretched across vast distances. Even in isolation, these monks were part of a global system. Faith did not separate them from the world. It connected them to it. This treasure also exposed the fragility of civilization. Monasteries that once echoed with prayer fell silent. Communities vanished, but objects remained, waiting. When archaeologists lifted the gold from the ground, they were not uncovering wealth. They were uncovering trust in the future. A belief that even if everything collapsed, something would survive. Something would be found. Something would be remembered. And yet, while this treasure lay hidden in the desert, science was preparing to uncover something far older. Not gold, not stone, but the very code of life itself. In the final chapter, we turn to one of the most powerful discoveries of 2025, ancient human DNA, a discovery that does not just tell us who ancient people were, but who we are. In 2025, archaeology did something it had never truly done before. It didn't just uncover objects. It uncovered identity. Using cutting-edge technology, scientists successfully extracted and sequenced some of the oldest ancient human DNA ever recovered, including DNA from ancient Egypt. For decades, human history was reconstructed from stone, bone, and written records. But DNA tells a different kind of story, a story written inside the body itself. This genetic material survived thousands of years buried in extreme conditions, carried within a record of ancestry, migration, and connection. When scientists analyzed the DNA, they discovered something profound. Ancient civilizations were not isolated. They were moving, mixing, evolving. The results showed genetic links between regions once thought to be separate worlds. Africa, the Middle East, Europe, all connected by human movement long before borders, nations, or empires existed. This discovery challenged old assumptions about race, origin, and identity. It proved that humanity has always been shared, always blended, always connected. The DNA also revealed how ancient people adapted to their environments, how they survived disease, how they responded to climate, how evolution shaped them in ways still present in us today. In a sense, this discovery collapsed time. It brought ancient people closer than ever before, not as distant ancestors carved in stone, but as living presences within our own bodies. This was archaeology at its most powerful, not looking at the past, but looking into ourselves. And when we step back and look at all the discoveries of 2025 together, fingerprints in clay, kings in tombs, walls of stone, armor of bronze, ships beneath the sea, gold hidden in fear, and DNA preserved through time, a single truth becomes clear. The past is not gone. It is beneath us, around us, and within us. Every generation believes it stands at the edge of history. But archaeology reminds us that we are standing in the middle of it, built on the choices, beliefs, and lives of those who came before. In 2025, the Earth spoke louder than ever, and it reminded humanity of something essential. We are not separate from history. We are its continuation. And as long as the ground still holds secrets, the story of who we are is not finished.